very good evening to you, and thank you for making time to be with us. My name is Ndiro Ganga, and you're tuned into Brand Plus TV. We are ready to bring you the business news, and as you know, we are all about business. Here's a glance of some of the stories making headlines in the business world. First conference of state to the African Charter. Global Standards Public Service in the works.
The experiences.
You look at the Asian tigers.
Rethinking Democracy Conference 2018. Democracy, why does it matter?
A lot of police officers were involved in the
Eastern Central Africa Regional Security Conference, safe and secure. Thank you for staying with us. Now on to our top story. The African Charter on Values and Principles of Public Service and Administration has come a long way since its inception in 1998 to the draft charter, which was formally adopted at the Third Pan-African Conference of Ministers of Public Service in February 2001. Today, Kenya hosted the first conference of state to the African Charter on Values and Principles of Public Service and Administration, and our reporter tells us more.
The 1998 Morocco Declaration founded the charter, which focuses on professionalism and ethics in the African public service. The charter aspires to ensure quality and innovative service delivery that meets the requirement of all users, encourage the effort of all member states in modernizing administration and strengthening capacity for improvement of public service, encourage citizens and users of public services to actively and effectively participate in public administration processes, and to improve the working condition of public service agents and ensure the protection of their rights. Cabinet Secretary, Public Service, Youth and Gender Affairs, Professor Margaret Kobia, the host, started by thanking the African Union Commission for choosing Kenya to host the event.
I take the early opportunity to thank the African Union Commission for choosing Kenya to host this important event. It is a privilege to have delegates from African countries that are supporting public service and administration to transform the agenda across the continent.
At this juncture, I would now like...
The CS went ahead to point out to the public service ministers in attendance and the delegates the benefit of the charter if implemented.
If we all implemented this charter, then we are able to have uniform service delivery for our public service as measured by the citizen who we serve. This charter will be able to ensure that anybody entering a public office, the way they enter from the entrance to the time they exit, they can be able to see a value chain where efficiency and effectiveness is pronounced, so that they are able to finish their concerns, because everybody who go to a public service office goes for a certain service. They want to be served very fast.
The second conference of state parties to the African Charter.
Professor Margaret Kobia stated that the charter is critical in line with the Africa's Agenda 2063.
Implementation of the charter is critical in transforming public service institutions on the continent for effective, accountable, and quality service delivery, designed to drive the continent towards the Africa we want, which is commonly referred to Agenda 2063.
Stakeholders can impress them and implement.
The public should be able to get government services fast and convenient, for they are entitled through their tax contribution. All hopes are all African countries will ratify the charter and provide guidelines for the running of the public service offices as the continent seeks to attain its set development goals.
Now let's shift gears and take a look at matters democracy. For Kenya to fully cushion itself from political tension every 5 years that hemorrhages the economy, electoral systems in the country have to be streamlined. These sentiments were echoed by speakers at the KAS Rethinking Democracy Conference 2018. Take a look. With the theme, International Trends in Elective Systems, the conversations of the day revolved around elections and the systems therein. Siaya County Senator James Orengo went ahead to point out an economy only thrives when the politics of accountability is practiced.
Look at the Asian tigers, including South Korea, including Singapore, including Malaysia. The confidence has come about with good electoral practices. You have countries with a lot of resources, with a lot of capacity. They start very well, but because they are not able to hold regular elections, free and fair elections, those tend to affect the performance of countries like those. And if you look at South Korea now and during the period of authoritarianism, there's a great change, and nobody will want to go back there. That in Korea, South Korea, you can be in State House today and tomorrow you're in jail. That's how efficient it is.
Electoral democracy.
Besides having disputed elections every electioneering period, Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo went ahead to say Kenya has the most expensive elections in the world.
It was very curious when I was collecting my clearance from the police. This is what they told me. We have fingerprints for all Kenyans since 1963. So why do we then have to purchase equipment, very expensive, only to identify Kenyans? Yet those identities are there. Our elections are the most expensive in the world. $25 per person. I'm told that's actually more. Chebukati corrected me a few days ago. India is $1, Brazil is $1, Tanzania $4, Rwanda $4. A very expensive election.
He further added that as a way forward, punishments needs to be introduced for those who commit electoral offences, bearing in mind the cost implications of the exercise.
But we must begin to punish people who cause electoral offences. I was disappointed by the Supreme Court actually to return us to a repeat presidential election and then find no fault in anybody. It's like we're having a draw. Let's go for penalties. We don't know who won. It's a contradiction. So we cannot interrogate what exactly went wrong because the Supreme Court found nobody culpable. But we did a good election offences chapter. It should be an offence to interfere with an election for. We should jail people the way we are jailing whoever we are jailing for corruption. We jail people for election offences. Maybe then we can improve this country.
Now to Senate. I think we have a problem.
Totally disregarding some calls that were made during the conference of disbanding the IEBC, Dr. Ekuru Aukot, former presidential candidate 2017, said the only long-term solution is working on improving the state of electoral democracy.
I think first and foremost is independence of the electoral management bodies themselves. We should give them the utmost respect, should make them independent. The manner in which we appoint these people, they just staying away from interfering with them. For me, that's a longer, because you cannot talk about an electoral management process, electoral democracy, without identifying with an electoral management body that is independent, that has got its own capacity, that is left to do its work as it should, like a referee. So for me, I think that's number one. Number two, we really need to remove political interferences from the electoral management body. For me, I think if you look at the history of our IEBC, for example, or the others, there has always been political interference. For example, even for the last 10 years, right from 1997, the IPPG to the brokering of the others. So political interference is a key issue. So we need to bring discipline in the way we do our politics. Who are these people who are actually doing politics, and what is their interest? A long-lasting solution is us Kenyans changing our attitudes and mannerisms on how we do election. Because the product of the leadership the leadership today is actually a factor of us, the electorate. So we need to go into issue-based politics. If we go into issue-based politics, bring discipline and encourage succession planning into politics, then it's possible to actually nurture our electoral processes.
Politics has over the years proven to be an integral part of the Kenyan people. Proper systems and structures need to be put in place to ensure politics spur economic growth in the long run. Very interesting thoughts right there. The hashtag to use is business news. Tell us what your thoughts are on that story. Well, on that democratic note, let us head for a short commercial break, but do stay with us as we still have so much more lined up for you on the other side, including some matters security. See you shortly. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now on to matters child trafficking. The Association of Charitable Children Institution of Kenya has today held a stakeholders conference in Nairobi with the focus of addressing the worrying trend of child trafficking as well as safeguarding the movement of every child in the country. Our reporter Daisy Wambua attended the forum and brought the following report. Have a look.
Children with special needs, street children, orphans as well as those without immediate parental care are the most endangered by the practice, whether local or international trafficking, and it's done mainly by relatives, friends of family and even law enforcement agents. Speaking while delivering her speech, Member of Parliament Suba North constituency Honorable Millie Othiambo outlined the various reasons behind child trafficking.
Issues of trafficking are still well and alive in the country, and there is trafficking for purposes of, as I said, for child labor. There is trafficking for purposes of sexual exploitation. There is trafficking for, a myriad issues. And there is also trafficking, as what I've seen, I'm sure many of us were not putting it within that framework. But when you are when you are talking about sponsorship, and you are a lawyer and you read the Trafficking Act, then you'll discover that the concept of sponsorship is actually trafficking, because you are exploiting the vulnerability of a person.
And we want to encourage them to come.
She went on to point out that Kenya has not only been used as a pathway to transport the trafficked persons to other destinations, but also a source and a destination of such persons.
We established that, contrary to what we had actually thought, because I think what the UN Special Rapporteur did was more of an exploratory, survey. But when we did an in-depth study, we discovered that there was a lot of trafficking, and Kenya was actually a destination, transit, and source for trafficking for different reasons.
The Child Protection Unit.
She continued to state the impact of child trafficking on the economic development of any nation.
The economic impact is, of course, we have a lost generation. We have a lot of children who are not going to school. We have a lot of children who are having psychological issues, because when you are trafficked, it affects even your own personal esteem. Many of them, because they've not gone to school, are not able to realize their full potential. So it is something that as a country we must work on. But above all, it is also a violation on the rights of children, because they need their right to be able to go to school and make decisions when they are 18. But when you are talking about counter-trafficking, because of the issue of the element of exploitation, of the vulnerability of people, of especially young girls, then sometimes even age may not matter, especially when you are exploiting the vulnerability of a person.
According to the Human Trafficking Report 2014, the prevalent forms of trafficking in Kenya are labor and sex-related at 44% and 53% respectively, while the illegal process involves children at 33%, men at 26%, and women at 41%. Reverend Stephen Ndungu, the chairperson of Association of Charitable Children Institutions of Kenya, outlined the need for all relevant stakeholders to put together efforts, all in an effort to end child trafficking.
Today we are here to open that discussion
so that we can get a solution together. To end child trafficking, every person must feel that it is their problem, that require concerted effort in creating partnership in prevention, prosecution of traffickers, and protection of survivors. And therefore, that's why we have invited you here, that you may feel part and parcel. You may feel it is your burden, it is your responsibility. As a Kenyan, as a patriot, it's ours to protect our children.
Children are the future leaders. Thus, they need to end child trafficking so that they can get an education and with it, make meaningful contributions to the economy. Reporting for Brown Plus TV Business News, I am Daisy Wambua.
The Protective and Safety Association of Kenya today organized its second conference on East and Central Africa Regional Security Conference, bringing together security and safety experts under the theme, Modern Policing, the Emerging Role of Private Security Industry in National and Regional Security. Our reporter attended the day one of the conference and tells us more.
To address issues concerning security.
A nation's security is critical in earning investor confidence and in creating a peaceful operating environment for businesses. Today, Protective and Safety Association of Kenya, PROSAC, hosted the second East and Central Africa Regional Security Conference at Intercontinental Hotel, Nairobi.
That we all work towards a common.
For the private security industry to grow, there is need to be a conducive business environment, and Fazul Mohammed, CEO, Private Security Regulatory Authority, had some good news for the industry players with regards to the government's plan for the industry.
Close VIP protection. And that is something that will be a thing of the past, beginning early next year. So if somebody feels that they are important, or somebody feels that their security threats are a bit high, then they will come and get the VIP protection from the private security industry. The other area where we are also withdrawing all police officers is on the cash in transit, where you see a car carrying cash and you have a pro box with like 4 police officers seated in it. That is also going to be a thing of the past. Beginning early next year, we are going to withdraw all police officers from following cash around. And that opportunity now will go to the private security industry. Security of government buildings, with an exception of key security installation, the rest of the government buildings are going to be guarded by the private security industry. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very big opportunity for the private security industry to grow and to assert itself and to take up the business opportunities.
We'll be able to understand what is happening.
National Chairman, Protective and Safety Association of Kenya, Enoch Makanga, pointed out that PROSAC is trying to streamline the industry bedeviled with challenges.
As an association, we want to make sure that we actually do things in the right way. The industry is flooded with so many security players. Some of them are quacks. And we actually ask the government that they must strike the whip.
Over that years
Secretary General, Private Security Union, Isaac Andabo, joined the national chair of PROSAC by thanking the government for recognizing and regulating the industry.
I want to thank the government, and in particular His Excellency the President. This country, since we attained independence, we have never had a regulation system or somebody or any government recognizing the role of the private security in this country. But I'm happy, as a worker in the private security industry, the President gave us that ascension to that bill in 2016, and as the Chairman has put it clearly, we want now to begin doing things in an orderly manner.
As the very vital industry complements government's effort in securing the nation, these efforts can only be lauded as they go a long way in ensuring a peaceful business environment. Reporting for Brown Plus TV, I am Cory John Wambugu.
Let us now take a look at how the markets performed today. Here is a summary. That is just a summary of how the markets perform, but for more in-depth analysis of the same, tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for my next big bet with Brechin Deritu and Karanji Daniel. Let's now take a look at the day's weather report. Well, before we wrap up the bulletin, here's a little tip for you who stayed up late to watch. Now, did you know that blue is the color of abundance in Japan? So tomorrow, just in case you have a meeting with Japanese investors, dress in blue and thank us later. That is all we had for you tonight. Thank you very much for watching. Catch us tomorrow at 9 p.m. for a fresh serving of business news making headlines in the business world. See you tomorrow.